Ashishan, I'll take one call. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for giving your valuable time on Sunday morning and being here at ISKCON Sacramento for giving your association. I know everybody's time is very, very valuable, and just being here, you show that this is something you make as priority today. So thank you very much. So ISKCON Sacramento welcomes you, and we hope to see you again and again. So we read from the book called Bhagavad Gita, and this is a conversation between the Supreme Personality of Godhead, God Himself, with His devotee Arjuna, and this is a transcendental message given to him in person, and this is Arjuna is just a medium, but this is for all of us to learn about how to navigate through the difficulties, how to navigate through our life. So this is what we do every week, and today we are reading through in chapter 8, text 10. So before we begin, we try to create an environment of Vrindavan, that's the holy dham there, that's where Krishna spent his initial time when he was on this planet Earth, and he did lots of beautiful pastimes there. And after the discourse, I just want to open up this for some questions or reflections. So be open to ask any questions, or if you have any reflections or any thoughts that you want to carry, you will carry with you after this. So please, we'll begin with Jai Radha Madhava. जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपी जन जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी यमुना तीरवनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhav Kunja Bihari, Gopi Janava Giri Varadhari. Shri Radha Madhav ki, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki. Hare Krishna. So let's offer obeisances to the Supreme Lord Vasudeva. So with folded hands, please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki. We'll do what we call as Mangalacharan prayers. So we invoke prayers and we take blessings from the Guru Parampara, Acharya, Lord Shri Krishna and others. So this is, if you have a book, it is on the page 1 of the Bhagavad Gita book in introduction. So most of you probably have memorized. So let's do it together. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada ki Jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai. Hare Krishna. So let's go to chapter 8 and text number 10. So in the hardbound book, it is on page number 354. Page 354. So let's recite this verse. prayāṇa-kāle manasācalena bhaktyā yukto yoga-balena caiva bhruvor madhye prāṇam āveśya samyak sa tam paraṁ puruṣam upaiti divyam prayāṇa-kāle manasācalena prayāṇa-kāle manasācalena bhaktyā yukto yoga-balena caiva bhaktyā yukto yoga-balena caiva bhruvor madhye prāṇam āveśya samyak bhruvor madhye prāṇam āveśya samyak satam paraṁ puruṣam upaiti divyam satam paraṁ puruṣam upaiti divyam prayāṇa-kāle manasācalena bhaktyā yukto yoga-balena caiva bhruvor madhye prāṇam āveśya samyak satam paraṁ puruṣam upaiti divyam. Take few recitations starting with Mataji's probably. prayāṇa-kāle manasācalena bhaktyā yukto yoga-balena caiva
bhruvor madhye pranamaveśyam samyak
bhruvor madhye prāṇam āveśya samyak
satam param puruṣam upaiti divyam
satam paraṁ puruṣam upaiti divyam prayāṇa-kāle manasācalena
yukto yoga-balena caiva
bhaktyā yukto yoga-balena caiva
bhruvor madhye pranamaveśya samyak
bhruvor madhye prāṇam āveśya samyak
satam param puruṣam upaiti divyam
satam paraṁ puruṣam upaiti divyam. prayāṇa-kāle manasācalena bhaktyā yukto yoga-balena caiva bhruvor madhye prāṇam āveśya samyak satam paraṁ puruṣam upaiti divyam prayāṇa-kāle manasācalena
bhaktyā yukto yoga-balena caiva bhruvor madhye prāṇam āveśya samyak
bhruvor madhye prāṇam āveśya samyak
satam param puruṣam upaiti divyam
satam paraṁ puruṣam upaiti divyam prayāṇa-kāle manasācalena
bhaktyā yukto yoga-balena caiva
bhaktyā yukto yoga-balena caiva
bhruvor madhye pranam āveśya samyak
bhruvor madhye prāṇam āveśya samyak
satam param puruṣam upaiti divyam
satam paraṁ puruṣam upaiti divyam. Thank you, Prabhuji. So let's do word for word meaning. prayāṇa-kāle, at the time of death. manasa, by the mind, acalena, without its being deviated, bhaktya, in full devotion, yukta, engaged, yoga-balena, by the power of mystic yoga, cha, also, eva, certainly, bhruvor, the two eyebrows, madhye, between, prāṇam, the life air, āveśya, establishing, samyak, completely, sa, he, tam, that, param, transcendental, puruṣam, personality of Godhead, upaiti, achieves, divyam, in the spiritual kingdom. Translation by Srila ki jai. One who at the time of death fixes his life air between the eyebrows and by the strength of yoga with an undeviating mind engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna. So let's do phrase by phrase. One who at the time of death fixes his life air between the eyebrows and by the strength of yoga with an undeviating mind engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Very big promise. Okay, let's read the purport. In this verse, it is clearly stated that at the time of death, the mind must be fixed in devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For those practiced in yoga, it is recommended that they raise the life force or life air between the eyebrows. It is also called as Agnya Chakra. The practice of Shata Chakra Yoga involving meditation on the 6 chakras is suggested here. A pure devotee does not practice such yoga, but because he is always engaged in Krishna consciousness, at death, he can remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his grace. This is explained in this verse, in the verse 14. The particular use of the word yoga-balena is significant in this verse because without practice of yoga, whether Shata Chakra Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, one cannot come to this transcendental state of being at the time of death. One cannot suddenly remember the Supreme Lord at death. One must have practiced some yoga system, especially the system of Bhakti Yoga. Since one's mind at the time of death is very disturbed, one should practice transcendence through yoga during one's life. Hare Krishna. So, before we begin, how many of you are here for the very first time? You can raise your hands. Thank you so much for coming. So, just to give you some background before we get into today's verse, this Bhagavad Gita, as I mentioned, is the transcendental conversation between Lord Himself, Lord Sri Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, with his devotee Arjuna. And it is happening on a very kind of specific place on a battlefield when Arjuna was supposed to fight with his cousins or friends on the other side, and he was completely bewildered. And then he said, I don't want to fight. And then he completely surrendered to Supreme Personality of Godhead, who was driving his chariot. And then this conversation happened, and this 18 chapters. So this book has 18 chapters, and this is roughly divided into three different categories. The first 6 chapters are broadly classified as karma yoga. Karma yoga, karma literally means activities that we perform on day-to-day life. So karma yoga means it teaches us how one can live in this material world, how to live, or the art of living. That's what we generally call. And the last 6 chapters are called Jnana Yoga. Jnana means knowledge. It gives us transcendental knowledge on how we can let go. The art of letting go or art of leaving. But the middle 6 chapters, so this Bhagavad Gita is also considered as a treasure box. So if you imagine a treasure box which has a bottom, base, and a cover. But between the bottom, base, and the cover, there is something that is the most valuable thing. That is the jewel or the treasure. That's what the box is holding, right? It's protecting. So in the same manner, the middle 6 chapters are considered to be the essence of this Bhagavad Gita. And those are protected by the covering of Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. And that is called as Bhakti Yoga. So we are right in the middle. So chapter number 7 to 12 are the middle 6 chapters. These are called as Bhakti Yoga, or literally art of loving. And Krishna explains how one can develop love for him, and because everybody is connected to him, when we start seeing everybody in connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one who loves him will automatically love everyone. Not only human beings, but all living entities, irrespective of what type of body they have. They may have a dog body, fish body, cat body, tree body. These are all living entities. And Krishna says that he is the source of every single living entity. Not only living entity, but everything that we see around us. So in that context, now we are in the middle 6 chapters. And this chapter 8 is, the title is Attaining the Supreme, or Akshara Brahma Yoga in Sanskrit. So it begins with Arjuna asking several questions. So he asked about what is this Brahman, what is this effulgence, what are the Devatas, the one who are managing this whole universe, and so on and so forth, many things. But eventually, in the end, he asked one important question that we many times are, it's difficult for all of us, and we are very hesitant to ask that how one can remember you at the time of death. And in general, death is the topic that is not very discussed often, or it is very difficult. It is considered as very difficult because we don't want to discuss about death. But here he is asking, how can one remember at the time of death, and what would be his destination? So if we go back to text 5 of this chapter, Krishna explains, or he gives a general idea what will happen to one after death. That is the $1,000,000 question everybody is trying to work on, right? All the philosophists, all the scientists, they are trying to figure out, when we leave this body, what happens to us? What is going to happen to us? So Krishna gives us some idea. So in the 5th verse of this chapter, he says, Anta-kāle ca māmeva smaran-muktva kalevaram yah prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshayam. What does that mean? He says that at the time of death, Anta-kāla. Anta means end, Kala means time. So when our life in this body is complete, and when we are about to leave this body, at that time, or what we generally call as time of death, if one can remember me, that means Krishna, then he says that he for sure will attain my nature, attain the spiritual nature. Krishna, or the Supreme God, is not of this material world, but he's spiritual. He's our spiritual father. And when we say our, he is for everyone. It doesn't matter where we live, what body we have, what color we have, what type of form we have, it doesn't matter. So he says that you will attain me for sure. What does that mean? That means you will not get another material body in this material world. But then in the sixth verse, he says that yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tameva iti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavita. So if one cannot think of God, then what will happen to him? So he says that whatever state of mind one is at the time of death, that particular nature, that particular form, he will attain again, he says, for sure. So that means he will get certain type of material body again. It could be a dog body, a hog body, cat body, fish body, or a human body in other planetary systems, or even in this any other country. But when as soon as we get this material body, there are few things that are going to happen. One, we are born, we grow, we get old, and eventually we die again. Then again, born, grow, get old, die. And this what is called as samsara, or the repeated cycle of birth and death. So if we cannot think of God at the time of death, then we get another material body and bound in this material cycle of birth and death again and again. So definitely then we don't want to, this is not fun living here, to be honest. Getting birth again, which is very painful to both mother and child. Growing, for some time it may feel like fun, but while we are just trying to enjoy that fun, we are getting old. Our senses, our bodily parts don't function properly, and then it's time to leave this body again. That's definitely not fun. So then the recommended part that Krishna says, the path that says that you should always try to think of me at the time of death. And how do you do that? Then he says that tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmara yuddhacha mayyarpita manobuddhir mame vaishyasya samshaya. Then we may think that, oh, I have to just think of Krishna. I don't have to do anything. I'm done. No, that's not true. Krishna says that, yes, you think of me, but at the same time, ma manusmara yuddhacha. While thinking, you perform your prescribed duty of fighting. For Arjuna, at that particular moment, he being Kshatriya and on the battlefield, what is his duty? To fight. To fight with his enemy who is on the other side to the best of his ability. Irrespective of he is winning or losing, it doesn't matter. But he should wholeheartedly engage in his duty of fighting. And the same way, we have our own material duties while we are here. So we should always think of God, but be engaged in our duty simultaneously at the same time. Then he gives some techniques on how we can think of him. So in the 8th verse, he says, Abhyasa yoga yuktena. Abhyasa means what? Practice. Abhyasa means practice. He said, you should engage in practice of thinking about me. And then you should, when you practice this your whole life, then you can think of me. Somebody's phone. So our 8-digit phone code is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Whenever we can think of, we have a 16-digit code, 16-syllable code. So this is the supreme code that can directly take us to the spiritual world. Okay? So that's the code we need to remember all the time. I just thought about that code. So abhyasa means practice. So one should practice his whole life about this. And how can you practice? Then he says that there are different ways you can think of me. So in the next 9th verse, he says that Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram Anoraniyam Samanusmaridya Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parasar. So what is it? we can think of him as a kavi. Kavi means one who is knower of everything. Puranam means one who has no beginning. He is the oldest. He is the one who always exists, even when this material world is not exist or when this is annihilated. He is Puranam. He is Anusha Sitaram. He is the controller of everything that we can see around us. We always say that not even the blade of grass moves without permission of God. Then Anoraniya, he is so small that the smallest part we can think in this material world is anu or atom, but he enters in every single atom, so he is smaller than even the atom. And sarvasya dhataram, he is the maintainer of everything, every living entity. He is the one who is maintaining all of us. We may think that, oh, I am doing this, but the ability to perform anything is given by God to us, given by Krishna. So that's how he tells us, how can you think of me all the time? And then in today there are different ways actually how one can think of him. So today he is explaining about practicing of some yoga process. So he says prayāṇa-kāle manasācalena bhaktyā yukto yoga-balena caiva. Bala means strength. Yoga means the process of connecting with the Supreme. Yoga process. So when somebody is practicing yoga, that one should practice that yoga in such a way that in the end he should be so advanced that he can think of the Lord, and then he can choose his destination where to go. So that is one process, and the other process I'll describe later after describing this yoga process. So when we think of yoga, what do you think of? Sitting in different postures, standing in different postures, twisting your body parts and doing things, right? And also by controlling your breathing process, pranayama. So that is called process of Ashtanga Yoga, or here also it is called as Shata Chakra Yoga. So Ashtanga Yoga means there are 8 limbs, which starts with Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahara, and so on. So Yama Niyam means there are rules and regulations that we need to follow. Yama Niyam literally means do's and don'ts. One has to do certain things in our life, and there are certain regulations that we are not supposed to do. And asana means different postures that one can practice. Pranayama means breathing process that we can practice. And by this one can elevate, one can control his body, control his prana vayu. Prana means life and vayu means air. One can come to the stage that he can lift his life air from, it is generally sitting at the bottom of our spinal cord, the base or foundation of our body. That's where it is sitting, and from there up to head, the body is divided into 6 or sometimes 7 chakras. That's where the name Shata Chakra Yoga comes. Shata means 6, chakras means different positions in our body. So these chakras are defined as, the first one is the base of the sitting is called Mooladhara, Moola Adhara, the base which gives you Adhara for the whole body. Then above near the belly, it is called Swadhisthana Chakra. Above that, under the rib cage, is called Anahata Chakra, and then towards the heart is called Vishuddha or Anahata Chakra. Below that is Manipura Chakra, Anahata Chakra, and near the throat is called Vishuddha Chakra, which cleanses. And then here it said bhruvor madhye, that is the third eye, generally it is called, or the place between the 2 eyebrows. That is also in yoga practice, when you go to yoga classes, they also call this third eye. So that is called Agya Chakra. So when one is so advanced in yoga that he can feel that life air, experience that life air, and lift it gradually and bring it to the Agya Chakra. At that point, he can then decide how he wants to leave this body and then where he wants to go. But here, there is a keyword here said in the second line, bhaktyā yukto, that he is engaged in bhakti. Bhakti means devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So when he knows this, and then he can decide to leave the body from the whole of the skull. That is the top chakra is called Sahasrara chakra, or it is also called as Brahmarandra. Then he practically can decide how to live and where to go. And that we will further read in this chapter towards the end. And then he can go to any heavenly planet or even up to Vaikuntha. He will decide. But for all others who are not advanced in yoga practice, they just end up everywhere and anywhere depending on the karmic reactions. So how does that sound? Is it very easy process based on the whole explanation? No, right? We don't even know where our life here is right now. I don't even know there is life here, to be honest. So this is the process that is explained in this verse. But eventually, in the purport, Prabhupada writes that there is other process. So this is the yoga process or Shatachakra yoga process. But there is other process that Krishna will explain further. And in the 14th verse particularly, where he says one should engage in devotional service of the Lord. That is a simple process, Shravanam. It starts with, there are 9 different limbs or processes given to perform devotion to the Supreme Lord. It starts with Shravanam. What does Shravanam mean? Hearing. That's what we are doing. Shravanam, Kirtanam. So right now I am speaking, you are hearing. Very easy process. Is it very difficult? No, right? Even if I want to, I have to make an effort to close my ear. Eyes I can close easily, but ears are always open. They are always very receptive. If I want to wake up in the morning, what is the technique I use to get up in the morning? I set up an alarm, right? When it goes off, I hear and then I wake up. So this sense is very receptive. Without hearing, we cannot learn anything. That is the first sense how we can even learn in the game. Even when we go to school, we first learn even the alphabets, A, B, C, D, by hearing process from the teacher. So hearing is very, 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 very important even in our spiritual progress. Shravanam, Kirtanam, then Smaranam, thinking, that's what Krishna is asking us. Then Dasyam, serving him, Padasevanam, offering obeisances to his lotus feet, Archanam, offering Arti, Vandanam, offering obeisances to him, and eventually becoming friend of him and eventually offering everything to him. And that whole process is called bhakti. Bhakti means engaging in devotional service. And it is considered as very easy, but at the same time, very relishable. Because when you perform bhakti, you can get the ananda or bliss out of it. Just by association with devotees here, we can learn about how to perform bhakti and then engage in bhakti yoga, and that we can achieve the same result what is explained in this process. I'll just ask you a simple question. Does anyone who is married here want to volunteer for a very personal question? Anyone who wants to there? Okay, Mukesh Prabhu, thank you so much. I'm going to ask a very difficult question. Do you remember your wife all the time? Yes, most of the time. Okay, to remember our wife all the time, do you have to practice some process that you have to take up to practice so that we can remember all the time to our wife? No, right? Just because we love her, we can always remember her. We don't have to practice some process. Is there a technology book or is there a guide we can get? Oh, this is how you should remember your life all the time. Is there a book? I haven't seen it yet. Maybe in future somebody will write that book. But we don't have to practice for remembering our wife, right? In the same manner, once we develop love for Krishna, once we develop love by engaging in bhakti yoga for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because that is our prime duty actually. He unconditionally is loving us all the time. He's giving, even though we have forgotten him, He's fulfilling all our needs, irrespective of we remember him or not. Imagine how much love one should have for a person who is completely ignoring him, isn't it? So if we somehow or other develop love for him, we don't have to follow any yoga process, Shat Chakra yoga and all that process to remember him all the time. Somehow or other, that love is always in our heart. It is always there. It is said that Krishna Bhakti Nitya Siddhya Sadhya Kabunaya Shavanadi Shuddha Chitte Karaya Uday. That Krishna Bhakti or Krishna Prema is always in our heart. It is always there. But when we, with pure heart, Shuddha Chitta, here, Shavanadi, we engage in the devotional process, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Svaranam, Pada Sevanam. These are Shavana Adi. All these processes, somehow or other, we engage in that process. That prema is aroused in our heart. That Krishna Bhakti and Krishna Prema. And then we don't have to follow any difficult process of yoga to remember him all the time. We will automatically, just like a husband or wife, always remember them. They don't have to follow a specific process. Just because they love each other, they will always remember them. In the same manner, we will always remember Krishna no matter what. No matter how difficult life is, how nice life is, it doesn't matter. That is the technique we can use to remember him. Just engage in devotional service with him, somehow or other, associate with devotees. And this is the Sangha or association we can use and learn from each other. Because we are all in difficult time. We are all still learning. We are all reading this Bhagavad Gita. That is the transcendental message Krishna has given us. So just learn this together. Be here on every Sunday or be here, associate with devotees. If you have difficulties, ask them. We bump into each other. Oh, Prabhuji, Mataji, I have this difficulty. How can I'm kind of lacking in my this reading of Bhagavad Gita, or not chanting my rounds properly. How can I do this? By this, we can develop or arouse that love for Krishna, and then we don't have to follow this difficult process of yoga. We will always remember Krishna. That is the technique we can use. So, just to summarize briefly, we learned that there are two paths after the death. One is going back to Godhead in the spiritual world, not taking this material birth again, or that is by remembering him, or not remembering him and coming back to this material world and getting this birth and death again and again. One is recommended, that is going back to him, so that we don't have to suffer this birth and death again. And for that, there are different ways Krishna has given. So in that, there are two ways. One is the yoga process, by which we can perform the yoga, lifting life air through Shata Chakra yoga and eventually deciding when to leave and how to go. But that is very cumbersome. It is, and to be honest, it is not even possible in this today's world. It is very, very difficult to follow that. But there is a very easy process that Krishna is giving us. Just engage in his loving devotional service. And that we can do very easily. So on that note, I think I'll stop. We still have about 15 minutes. And what we will do is, we will take some reflections, we'll take some questions if you may have, or any thoughts that you may carry with you, that a lesson that you think that helped you. So you can share with that. And also for bhakti, when we said that our heart needs to be clean because we have to arouse our Krishna bhakti in heart. So there is a very easy process that is given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he came about 500 years ago. That Krishna himself, God himself appeared as his own devotee. Because sometimes it is very difficult for us to know what a devotee means. So he himself taught us how to become his devotee. And then he gave a very process, nice, beautiful process of chanting his holy name. And that's what we have been singing. But there is a way we can chant on beats that we will try to practice here using last 10 minutes or so, and we can get a feel of that. Because with that process, it is said that cheto darpanam arjanam, our chitta or our heart get cleansed when we chant that holy name of Lord offenselessly with wholeheartedly. And with that, it is considered as a mirror. So when you look in the mirror, if the mirror is dirty, do you see the nice reflection? No. But as soon as we are start cleansing the mirror, we start seeing the our image very clearly. In the same manner, in our heart, we start seeing things as it is, as they are, more and more clearly when the heart is cleansed. And that cleansing process is the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So we will do at the end, before we end today. Before that, so let's, in the meantime, while we are taking reflections, can we distribute the beads, Prabhu? Yeah. Can you distribute the beads? Yeah. Thank you. So if there are any questions or reflections, please. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Hare Prabhu.
Very nice class, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
I wanted to say a couple of things, Prabhu. I think for based on what you said. So during our deathbed, I think it is important for like we know from from the shastras and others, the atma is covered by the prana and the manas, and that forms the sukshma sharira, and that has to be channelized, like we read today. It has to be channelized up towards between the forehead and towards that. That's where the sushumna nadi comes out from. So that's what we are. That is what we want to. That is our goal at the end on our deathbed.
Mhm.
So I think to combine the 2 points that you were saying, there is actually scientific proof that constant rhythmic recitation, or even just hearing constant rhythmic words, will, whether we know it or no, whether we agree with it or no, if you do it with proper, the attitude of complete surrender and devotion, we might not even realize, but it actually is lifting our
Life air.
prana and life energy up towards, if you do it with the right attitude. So I also, so I think, this daily practice that we are doing is like when you're preparing for a marathon, the final marathon is like our final phase of our life, and the practice that we need to do to perform there is what we are doing every day. I think so. That's the way I look at it. I also wanted to say one more thing, very similar to what you said. There are 2 shlokas in the Varaha Purana, where Varaha Swami gives upadesham to Bhudev, and he says the exact same thing. He says, when your mind and body is in good condition, he says, Sthite manasi susvaste sharire satyo naraha. So when your body, mind, and all your faculties are in good condition, he says, remember me. And he says in the deathbed, I will come to rescue you.
Oh, very nice.
He says, Tatastu mremanantu kashtapashan nasannidam aham smarami madbhakta nayami paramam. He says, when you're lying like a wood, like a stone on your deathbed,
I will think of you. Yeah, that's very sweet. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that, Prabhu. Coming from doctor, it is very important actually, because you knowing this and